Sizocela ke ikwaya ezosiholela ihubo lesizwe kanye ne new anthem. The choir is supposed to be on stage to lead us with the national anthem and also the AU anthem. Where is the choir? The choir must proceed to the stage to lead us with the national anthem. Sehlisa umsindo kuze sizokwazi ukuthandaza umthandazo oyihubo lesizwe okuyena ndlela esiqala ngayo usuku. The choir is proceeding to the stage to lead us with the national anthem and also the AU anthem. Thina abanye sehlisa umsindo ngoba siyathandaza. Iyona ndlela sonke le esikhuleka ngayo. Siyacela nje ukuthi sehlisa umsindo khona sizozwana. The choir. We are starting with the national anthem. Ngabe usuqalile umthandazo izinga lomsindo liphezulu kakhulu sicela sehlisa umsindo ukuze sizokwazi uqala umthandazo oyihubo lesizwe. Thank you very much, our choir, the Zulu Kingdom, for rendering us with the national anthem and also the AU anthem. Ngiyazi ukuthi amakhosikazi akwaZulu Natal ayahlonipha futhi ayalalela. Sizobekezelelana nje singawenza umsindo khona sizozwana sonke. Ngiyafisa ukubingelela mengameli wesizwe baba wethu Matamela. Siyathobeka kakhulu singamakhosikazi akwaZulu Natal ukuthi ubone kule ngqophamlando yosuku lwabantu besifazane ukuthi uzoligubha kunye nathi kwaZulu Natal. Kusenza sithobeke kakhulu ke thina njengamakhosikazi akwaZulu Natal ukuthi ngaphezulu kokuthi inyanga yethu le yosuku lwethu lolu kodwa ubuholi bombutho wesizwe president wawo kulesi sifundazwe sakwaZulu Natal bubone kusifanele ukusinikeza isipho esehlukile kwaZulu Natal esiyoya encwadini zomlando la khona okokuqala ngqa kusukela ngo1994 iKwaZulu Natal izoba no premier womuntu wesifazane. We are so honored and appreciate the leadership of the province of KwaZulu Natal, led by you, mfowethu Lwandle Kwaluelwa. Ukhombisile ukuthi uma sikhuluma nge-women emancipation asizukuyifunda phansi, kodwa in your leadership we are going to realize it. We are so honored. Let me also acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Minister that is going to co-program direct with me, Minister Ubhuti Emmanuel Nathi Mthethwa, who is the Minister of Sport, Art and Culture, the son of the soil. Let me also acknowledge the Minister in the Presidency, our leader, Umama Umayite Nkowane Mashabane. Siyajabula kakhulu mama wethu esimthandayo kakhulu. Let me acknowledge my sister and leader, the incoming premier of the province of KwaZulu Natal, my lovely sister, Umama wabantabam, udadewethu nomusa, Qhamukile, Dube Ncube. Let me also acknowledge the presence of the speaker of the district, the hosting district, esikuyo namhlanje, udadewethu uNonhlanhla. Untangami ke lona, ntangazami. Ngiyabingelela all the ministers that are here, the deputy ministers, all the MECs of our province. President, they are here. The mayors of this district in particular, all of them are here except one that I've not noticed, Ekamugemgen, but all other mayors of this district, they are here, deputy mayors and speakers. The leadership, Yase legislature, led by Udadewethu Unontembeko boys, is also here with all the political parties. Akhona legislature yaKwaZulu Natal, they are here, Matamela. Ubuholi beyinhlangano zamaqembu ezombusazwe ahlukahlukene akhona esifundazweni sethu KwaZulu Natal, akhona eholwa umbutho wesizwe iAfrican National Congress. Ngibonile ke nobuholi bomdabu kusukela kuyinkosi yethu okuyiyona esiholayo la esifundazweni entsha sha kanye nobuholi obusimelele kuzwelonke bobuholi bomdabu. Ngibonile bonke bukhona. Siyathobeka kakhulu ukuthi lolu suku namhlanje luhle njengathi. Naze nabahle abantu besifazane. Anishayeli ihlombe. Usuku lwanamhlanje mongameli uyalibona nje luhle njengathi luyachachamba. Yingakho ke nalenyanga kuthiwa uncwaba ngoba abantu besifazane bancwaba. Kodwa kokusithobisa kakhulu ukuthi simi phezulu kwamahlombe eyinqalabutho zethu ezalida kumzabalazo wabantu besifazane kungakabi fashionable, kungakabi lula, kodwa benza ukuthi sikwazi ukuthi sime kuma platform like this. Mhlambe ke bekubalulekile ukuthi ngizisho ukuthi ngiubani mina omilanga ngoba ngixeketha nje. Igama lami nguhlengiwe isibongo ngwakwamavimbela. Ngithunyelwe inhlangano yombutho wesizwe kwishamthetho sakwaZulu Natal na kuyi cabinet ukuthi ngibe uMEC weSport Art and Culture. Ngizoqhuba lolu hlelo ke ngilekelelana noNyambose. Ngizosebenzisa ke ilimi zonke engijwayele ukuyisebenzisa kodwa kakhulu lo lesiluzwa thina sonke esibaningi esikhona la ngaphakathi. Ngoba there are also ambassadors from different countries that are part of our program. Some of the ambassadors, they've declared to me that they've experienced something very special about South Africa, where the women are celebrated and there is a special day dedicated to women, of which they don't know in their countries. Phambili ngeSouth Africa, phambili. Phambili ngeSouth Africa ekhululekileyo, phambili. Bengicabanga ke dadewethu uNomusa ukuthi siyesithi sigwele kaMthaniya. Namhlanje kuqopheka umlando noma kusazokwenziwa ngokusemthethweni ukuthi lo mbutho womama uAlbertina Sisulu, omama uMboxela, omama uWinnie Madikizela Mandela, omama uFlorence Mkhize, omama bonke abahola ngo1956 bazobona umuntu wesifazane okokuqala nqa ehola. Kuthi ngalesi sikhathi ehola kube uwena dadewethu Dube Ncube. Okwenza ngithobeke kakhulu ukuthi awuholi ngoba uwindow dresser, kodwa uzohola le province yakwaZulu Natal because you have all the qualities to lead adingekalayo kumuntu wesifazane. Futhi ke awusilona ivela shona kulombutho wesizwe. Siyakwazi kusukela ebuncaneni bakho uwa uvuka nenhlangano yombutho wesizwe. We are so humbled and honored ebuholini beAfrican National Congress ukuthi thina singabantu besifazane sibalulekile. Yingakho ke ngibona sengathi the theme esiyinikeziwe kulonyaka is so befitting. La khona sithi women, socio-economic rights and empowerment, building back better for women's resilience. Ngicabanga ukuthi le theme sengathi ihambisana nathi kakhulu la kwaZulu Natal ifike ngesikhathi esicorrect. Yingakho ke ngifuna ukusho ukuthi la ngaphandle kunomama balendawo sithena thina as ama departments akuzi kuba yithina esizo exhibita, kodwa we understand into ye local economy sizolanda omama ekuhlaleni kube yibona ba exhibitayo. Base intweni ke labo mama baphethe ama speed point. Akungabe bikho umuntu ohambe engathenganga ashiye umnotho kubantu besifazane who have experienced the triple oppression. Ngiyazi ukuthi nizokwenza njalo. Angagexeka amagula ngoba ikhona indodakazi yalesi sifundazwe sakithi kwaZulu Natal okuyona ezokwenza amazwi okusamukela udadewethu uDube Ncube, who is the MEC of Finance in our province and also the leader of government business, who is also acting as the premier as I speak. Dadewethu qhamukile.
Alsoze la pela manda
soze kaphela amandla amandla malibongwe igama lamakhosikazi wathinta abafazi. Siyabonga kakhulu. Asibingelele ngokuthobeka Mongameli wezwe lethu Baba uRamaphosa. Sibingelele ngokuthobeka onke ama-ministers akhona lapha namhlanje kulomsebenzi wabo obaluleke kangaka wesizwe. Sibingelele ama-deputy ministers, sibingelele members the executive council zalapha KwaZulu Natal. Siyafisa ukubingelela usomlomo walapha KwaZulu Natal, umama uBoyce. Sibingelele wonke ama-chapter 9 institutions akhona. We also wish to acknowledge the presence of the diplomatic corps. We also wish to acknowledge ubuholi bakithi bomdabu obukhona lapha namhlanje boholwa by inkosi umhlawuli. Siyabingelela kuona wonke amakhosi, zinduna zamakhosi ezikhona, ama-political formations akhona lapha namhlanje, ama-entities wakahulumeni. Kodwa ngokukhethekile sibingelele umphakathi walapha eMgungundlovu nalapha KwaZulu Natal uwonkana. Siyabingelela. Sanibona. Umphathi wohlelo ushilo ukuthi nibahle kakhulu lapha namhlanje. Siyazibongela nathi kuba ingxenye yalomsebenzi obaleke kangaka. On behalf of the government yalapha KwaZulu Natal nabantu bakwaZulu Natal, ngiyacela ningivumele ukuthi on behalf of isifundazwe sonke ngiyamukele ubuholi bethu obukhona lapha phakathi kwethu, the national government led by our Honorable President, His Excellency President Ramaphosa, to mark this very important day namhlanje lapha eRichmond. Njengoba samukela President kuleli lizwe, sikwamukela ezweni likaMthaniya, izwe likaMkabayi, izwe lakamama uNokuhamba Luthuli, uNokukhanya Luthuli, izwe likaJama, izwe likaNandi, izwe labo bonke omama uNokuthela Dube, izwe labo Princess Magogo. Ilona izwe ke leli esizigqajayo ngalo esiphinde sizithobe ukuthi sibe ingxenye yalomlando obaleke kangaka lapha namhlanje, lapho sibona isibaya sikaJama silapha sonke noZulu ukhona wonkana. Siyacabanga ukuthi lapho bekhona laba omama bethu bayalilizela, lapho bekhona bayahlokoma ukubona omama behlangene ngokuthula nangoxolo oluhle kanjena lolo silibona lapha namhlanje. Siyazi ukuthi emlandweni umlando uyasho ukuthi impi yaseNgcuce eyayiholwa inkosi yethu noma isilo uCetshwayo yayingeke ikwazi ukuphuma inqina uma ngabe kwakungabona ubuchule balabo mama engibabalile, kepha kakhulukazi our Zulu goddess uNomkhubulwane. Namhlanje Mongameli, silapha kulomsebenzi obaleke kangaka noyinqophamlando. Siyazi ukuthi khona maduze nje kwalapho esikhona kukhona indawo ekuthiwa kuseXhobo. Lapha ya eXhobo kunomlando omkhulu obalekile ngoba kulapho khona okubekwe khona umlando obonakala lapha ya encwadini ka Allen Patents ka 1948
kwinovel yakhe ethi Cry the Beloved Country. Ethi mangabe itranslatewa ngesizulu ithi lafa elihle kakhulu. Namhlanje uma sibheka izinselelo esibhekene nazo kuleli lakithi lakamthaniya, siyabona ukuthi isifundazwe sethu sibaluleke kakhulu ekutheni lomlandu ojulile esinawo sikwazi ukuphatha ngezandla ezinobunono nangenhlonipho esimangaliso. Incwadi kaEllen Payton ivula ngokuthi ithi, there is a lovely road that runs from Ixopo ezintabeni zakhona laphaya eXopo. Intaba lapho zikhavwe khona utshani obuhlaza. Intaba lapha kubonakala khona imfula yakhona ilolozela isho umculo omnandi. Lapho khona umhlaba uvundile uwenzele ukuthi wondle isizwe sakamthaniya. Amanye amazwi athathwa laphaya encwadini kaEllen Payton esithi ngayo kubalekile ukuthi sikhumbule ukuthi singobani. Siyafisa futhi ukushayela ihlombe mongameli kanye nalo lonke icabinet lakho ngokuthi nichoose indawo yase Richmond nalapha kwaZulu Natal ukuzo celebrate lomlando kanye nalosuku olubaleke kangaka ngonyaka ka2022. Indawo yethu ke yalapha eRichmond iyaziwa kakhulukazi ngokuthi iyezinye zeindawo ebesithola khona ulimo kanye nezitshalo eziningi kakhulukazi ama-fruits nama-vegetables. Siyazi futhi ukuthi ulusha oluningi olukhona lapha nomama abaningi abakhona lapha badependa kulezi zinto engizibalayo kakhulukazi kwi-agriculture ukuthi bakwazi ukuphila basikhulise njengabantwana babo kanye nesizwe. Siyafisa ke ukusho ukuthi kuyisifiso sethu nomthandazo wethu njengohulumeni ukuthi indawo yalapha eRichmond iphinde ibuyele kuleya ndawo eyayinhle inabantu abaningi abasebenzayo abakwaziyo ukuthi balikhuphule igalelo nemphakathi yakhona lapha. Namhlanje siyafisa futhi ukuthi sihalalisele umnyango we-Women Ministry of Women and Children and People with Disability, umnyango kamama unkwane Mashabane. Siyafisa ukubongela kakhulu ngalomsebenzi omuhle abawenzayo. Siyazazi inhlelo enizenzayo nalapha kwisifundazwe sethu sakaZulu Natal. Isifundazwe sethu ke mongameli siye sakhahlamezwa kakhulu by COVID-19 njengoba sazi sibonile nomhlaba wonke. Sathi sisabheke lokho kwavela laphaya inhlekelele zika July. Sathi sisabheke lokho kwavela ikhukhula nazo ezithe za affecta kakhulu abantu besifazane kanye nemndeni lapha kwaZulu Natal. Siyafisa ke ukuthi ekwakheni kwethu kube ukuthi abantu besifazane siyazi ukuthi uma ngabe unikeza umuntu wesifazane isenti uyakwazi ukuhlukanise enze abantwana bakhe bakwazi ukudla, enze abantwana bakhe bakwazi ukuya esikoleni, enze abantwana bakhe ukuthi bakwazi ukuthi bafane nabanye abantwana. Ingakho kuthina kubalekile ukuthi abantu besifazane kube yibona abaseqhulwini lokwakha isizwe sethu. Mongameli, emazwini ethu siyafisa ukusho ukuthi namhlanje looking at the evidence-based research that has shown that the gender inequality that is at the heart of abuse of the vulnerable women is the one that we need to face head on. It is for this reason that on a Women's Day, we call upon the whole of society not to pay lip service to the noble and the just cause of attaining generation equality and the emancipation of women on the socio-economic bondage. It is serious that the heroic struggle of the generation yabo mama bethu baka 1956 ababhekana ngqo no straightdom bathi straightdom namhlanje ubhekene nembokodo bathi amapasi kufanele alahlwe namhlanje siyazi sihleli lapha simi lapha njengoba eshilo kamavimbela ukuthi we owe it to the generation of our freedom stalwarts, the likes of Mama Charlotte Maxeke, the likes of Mama Ida Mtwana, the likes of Mama Lillian Ngoyi, the likes of Mama Dorothy Nyembe, the likes of Mama Mxenge, the likes of Mama Mboxela, the likes of Mama Fatima Mie, nabo Mama Phyllis Naidu, kanye nabo bonke abazabalaza kule lizwe bezabalazela ukuthi umuntu omnyama akwazi ukuthola inkululeko. It remains the task for our national democratic revolution to create a united, non-racial, non-sexist, equal and prosperous society. Side by side with the people of KwaZulu Natal, we are on the journey to meet the demands of our mothers of 1954. Honorable President, today as we address here, we address on behalf of our Premier, Zikalala, and we want to assure you, Honorable President, that we are not going to be lamenting only, but we are going to be giving solutions. Namhlanje njengoba silapha kukhona omama nolusha olulapha yangaphandle olunikwe yilo hulumeni wakwaZulu Natal izinsiza zokusebenza ukuze bavule izinkampani zabo bakwazi ukuthi nabo bagcine sebengosomabhizinisi. Silapha namhlanje siyasho ukuthi uhulumeni ube nohlelo lokuthi u50% we-procurement fanele ubekelwe abantu besifazane. Fanele siyenze isiqiniseko sokuthi abantu besifazane bayakubona lokhu ngendlela esisebenza ngayo. Namhlanje njengoba silapha nje on this important occasion, we wish to make an impassioned clarion call to all the good men of our province and our country to take a lead in the fight against the scourge of the gender-based violence and femicide. Siyafisa ukuthi sikhuleke kobaba bethu, sikhuleke kumadoda aqotho, sikhuleke ezinsizweni eziqotho, sikhuleke komalume bethu ukuthi amadoda aqotho akeke asukume alwisane nalesi sihlava sokuhlukunyezwa kwabantu besifazane esisibonayo sigcwele zonke indawo. Sizothi namhlanje obaba baqotho abahlukumezi imndeni yabo. Sizothi namhlanje ake sibambane umntwana wesilisa umfana azi ukuthi it's okay to cry, it's okay to say angikho right, rather than to think fanele umuntu wesifazane kube yona i-punching bag. Namhlanje siyafisa ukushaya nekhwelo kumantombazane wethu ukuthi amantwana bethu bamantombazane basukume bazi ukuthi le Ningizimu Afrika iyiningizimu Afrika engacwasi, kodwa kubalekile ukuthi singabantu besifazane silwisane naso sonke isihlava esikhona, singathi sibukele ontanga bethu benza izinto ezi-wrong ebese nathi senza oku-wrong. It is still possible that we cannot procrastinate. We dare not linger. Not long ago, in this land of Umama Umtania, abantu besifazane babehlonishwa kakhulu. Siyazi ukuthi kwakuthi noma sekuxake obaba kuthiwe into ehlula amadoda iyabikwa. Angithi kuthiwa into ehlula amadoda yenze njani? Ibika kobani? injalo lento siyazi ukuthi omama masebebhukulile akukho okungabahlula. We wish to please allow me to cite the mother of our black freedom in South Africa, Umama Charlotte Maxeke, in a title she had given the ANC president, to Dr. Xuma. It is the pioneering Mama uMaxeke who challenged the men, Lapo Ati Kona. We want men who are salvation of young girls of our nation, who can depend on their presence. We need men who are humble, who humble themselves within our communities and our families, so that the nation may be lifted up, so that the nation can see the stars of Africa for the future generation. That is what Africa wants. That is what our women in South Africa wants. That is what our women in Africa wants. And they were weeping by a color or mama for the Africa engakwasi, for Africa ekwazi ukubavikela kuzona zonke inkinga neinselelo ababhekene kuzona. Once more siyafisa mongameli kanye nalo lonke icabinet yakho ukuthi namukeleke noma singanimukeli ngoba kusekhaya khona lapha, siyazi ukuthi vele uhlale ukhona phakathi kwethu. Sihamba ke nomthombeni lapha okuyiyona oyididiyelayo lapha KwaZulu Natal, obophelele sisipani osibona lapha phambi kwakho mongameli. Namhlanje sithi malibongwe, malibongwe igama lamakhosikazi. Siyabonga.
Zaze zancane izandla ebhekiswe kudadewethu uqhamukile. Ukhulume kamnandi usamukela, nami ungamukelile. Ukube bengikwazi ukucula bengothi uma uJehova evula iminyango akekho ngavala. Manje ke angikwazi ukucula, ngizoyekela abakwazi ukucula, kodwa nje ngisho njalo ngithi ma uJehova evula iminyango akekho ngavala. Isikhathi sentando kaThixo lesi siyasibona siyenzeka ngesikhathi sethu. Usakhuluma dadewethu, ungikhumbuze uMother Teresa kwamanye amagama awashoyo uma ekhuluma njengomunye womama esifundela kubona abahambe ngaphambi kwethu. Uthi uMama Teresa, if your eyes are positive, you will love the world. But if your tongue is positive, you will love. If your tongue is positive, the world will love you. So akufanele kube amehlo kuphela abe positive. Kufanele nolimi lube positive. Ngoba ulimi luthi luyisishwana esincane kodwa lubhubhise izinto ezinkulu. Usifundisa lokho ke uMama uTeresa. Engicabanga ukuthi ke omama laba balaba namhlanje, they will learn from amagama ashiwo uMama uTeresa, that they will have amazwi are positive so that the world would love them. Amazwi ke are positive awasho ukuthi usho izinto ezithandwayo njalo, kodwa usho ezinye izinto ezikwenza ube unpopular, kodwa izinto eziyiqiniso. Ithi incwadi engcwele ngelinye ilanga asikhulisa abantwana bethu ngendlela ukuthi noma sebebadala bengasuki kuyona. Yileyo ndlela ke enza ukuthi ukhuluma amazwi a positive noma ekwenze ube unpopular, so that umhlaba uzokuthanda ngoba ngeke usho ukuthi wawuyimenemene. Baye bethi kamakhosikazi uyimithi goba kahle. Angifuni ukuma ngedwa la, ngicela ukudedela uNyambose ngoba ngiphethe naye lolu hlelo, kodwa ngizomnika kancane ngoba usuku lwethu lolu. Ngizomuthi nje kancane usuku lwethu lolu bhuti Emmanuel, ngifuna uzwe nje ukuphathwa imbokode ukuthi kumnandi kanjani, kodwa ngenze thubingelele nje Nyambose usinikeze nokuthi lumi kanjani usuku kancane.
zela phela manje phela makhosi yazi halsoze aphela Alala mbogoto, alala. Alala mbogoto, alala. Wathinta abafazi. And then wathinta abafazi. Uzofa. Finish and clear. Sanibonani muzi wasemgungundlovu. Sanibonani muzi wase Richmond. Ngiyabingelela kubahlali basesilahla. Mlahlana. Lahla matende. Ngiyajabula nje ukuthi ngilapha phakathi kwenu namhlanje ngijabulela kakhulu ukuthi nginikezwe nje ithuba elincane. Ngibonga nje lelo thuba elincane. Sizothi ke njoba sihlangene la namhlanje sihlangene iSouth Africa yonke nomhlaba wonke ubheke la kuthina namhlanje ukuthi ukubhiyozela usuku olufana nalolu into enjani. So ngizofuna ke ukuthi bahambe nathi sibe nabo siwele kuGeorge, siyakwazi nokuwela kuyena uGeorge ukuthi bonke babe nathi la. Alala KwaZulu Natal, alala. Mama uhlengiwe esiphethe nayo uhlelo, my co-program director, His Excellency the President of the Republic of South Africa, President Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa, udade wethu Honorable Nomusa Dube Ncube, nokuyena osesamukele la, our Premier elect MEC for Finance in this province. We acknowledge ukuba khona kwakhe. Our ministers and deputy ministers here present with us, members of the Executive Council of KwaZulu Natal, members of Parliament and members of Provincial Legislature of KwaZulu Natal, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Ubaba Uzuma Umzi, Executive Mayor wala eMgungundlovu, ehamba nomama uNonhlanhla Kabela uSomlomo. Intentsha ke le esibona yenzeka mekhulunywa ngoSomlomo sekuthiwa manje Somlomo mama, hayi Somlomo baba. Oh, nakho ke incorrect kuthiwa uSomlomo mama. Umfowethu uNdlovu Samora nokuyena owumeya walo local municipality iRichmond, amakhansela esinawo la, amakhosi aseNdlunkulu. Ngizwile ke ukuthi umama unkosikazi Mhlawuli ukhona unathi la, uye ohola ithimba labaholi bomdabu, business leaders, mongameli, ama political parties akhona la, afike wonke mongameli, president akhona wonke ama political party. ngibonile usihlalo kule sishayamthetho sakwaZulu Natal ulwandle umfowethu lana usiboniso Duma uchair of chairs kwi-legislature ngibone abanye abaningi khona kwi-IFP lapha khona i-EFF kukhona i-DA khona wonke umuntu mongameli wonke umuntu khona. It's nice to be here. Kumnandi kuba la. So chairpersons and CEOs of public entities, social cohesion advocates, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, compatriots, to all wonderful women of our land. Halala makhosikazi, halala. Compatriots, kubalulekile ukuthi we make the point that the Women's Day 2022 and the Women's Month, which is August, is commemorated under the theme Women's Socio-Economic Rights and Empowerment, Building Back Better for women's improved resilience. Two conceptual and practical issues arise from this theme. Firstly, is the realization that the 1994 democratic breakthrough was about the ascension to political office of the liberation movement as the first phase of transition. What remained was the economic emancipation. In its strategic reflections, the governing party, the African National Congress, asserts that patriarchal oppression was embedded in economic, social, religious, cultural, family, and other relations in all communities. Its eradication, therefore, cannot be an assumed consequence of democracy. It needs consciously to be eliminated. To this extent, this phenomenon forms part of the global challenges facing humankind. At the core of global social discord is the fundamental question of political economy, the distribution of income and assets in society. The second set of these conceptual issues is the pioneering role and recognition of women's gallant fighters. Whereas men in the African National Congress were at the helm of defiance campaign in the 1950s, what is not affirmed is that women are the ones who started the defiance campaign as early as 1913. The men leaders in the 50s are mentioned by names: the Lutulis, the Mandelas, the Susulus et al. But who remembers the trailblazers 40 years earlier on? Who still speaks of Ma Khabashan, Ma Kotsi, Ma Low, and many others? Perhaps inadvertently, Thomas Sankara was also addressing the South African reality when he said, and I quote, "Whilst the night of August 4 gave birth to the achievement of freedom, honor, dignity, and happiness, he argued this was selfish happiness, for something crucial was missing: woman. She has been excluded from the joyful procession. Though men had reached the edges of the great garden of revolution, women were still confined within shadows of anonymity." So as we commemorate, close quote, as we commemorate Women's Day and continue to appreciate the invaluable role women play as architects of society, it is our responsibility to reflect on how we can tackle femicide and abuse against women. We cannot rest until we have built a more caring and just society for women. Malibongwe. Malibongwe. Igama lamakhosikazi. Igama lamakhosikazi. Wathinta abafazi. Wena. Finish and clap. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Enyambos. Lo muntu omncane uphathe kahle. Sicela ukubingelela nokwamukela our mother and our leader, the former speaker and the leader of the NTT, Umama Ubaleka Mbet, who have joined us. Sicela futhi nokubingelela and acknowledge leadership, the administration ya KwaZulu Natal, led by UDDG, Dr. Mkhize. Sizoba nondunankulu wesifazane, sino DG wesifazane in this province. Abantu besifazane nje, they are on top. Ngizwe kuthiwa kunenkondlo ke ekhona ezongena la. Ngicela ukudedela yona izizokwenza umsebenzi wayo. Inkondlo iready. Inkondlo ingene ngaphambili angisezukubuya la. Izothi mayiqeda inkondlo ngizobe sengidedela our mother and our leader to speak to us. The Minister of Women, Children and People with Disabilities, so that she will also introduce the president. Inkondlo ke ayenze njalo. And le nkondlo ke ithula umuntu wesifazane. Yabona nje yonke into icheme nabantu besifazane namhlanje.
One, two. Mama. We mama. Ngumafahleni wesizwe bengicela ungiphe ithuba nje. Amanxeba asemzimbeni kamama aqopha omkhulu umlando. Amanxeba asemzimbeni kamama aqopha omkhulu umlando. La manxeba mihla namalanga angibangela usizi ngifisa ukumsiza umama kodwa uthi cha mntana wena udinga usizo. Ukumsiza kwami bekunguguqa ngedolo ngicela kumvela inqandi ngithi inkosi. Alithi maliphume nazo zonke izibusiso zetele ekanda lakhe. Lithi maliqamba lithambama lishone nazo zonke izitha zakhe. Uthi mama cha mntanami ungabi ngumahluleli njengesehluleki ngoba indlela owehlulela ngayo ngaphansi kwelanga iyona ndlela yokwehlulelwa ngayo ngaphezulu kwelanga uthi ngelinye ilanga uthi thatha nanti ibheli lomsizini uyakujuleni kwenhliziyo yomuntu wesifazane uyakufica khona amanxeba isikhombisa uzubakhombise bonke abesifazane ukuthi mina ekukhuleni kwami kangizange ngaba ngundlaveni uthi emntombini bami mina bengesiyo uphumasile kwazise mntanami zonke intombi zesigodi bengizilisa umntonga mfoloko amanxeba asemzimbeni kamama mina aqopha omkhulu umlando uthi umama zibazi nje lezi thina silimele kakhulu ngaphakathi ngokulalela ke kubese ngithatha inyathuko ngilibangise enhlizweni yomuntu wesifazane ngifica unqaba lakhe lokuqala bekade lisemqondweni wakhe uthi umama hemntanami kunamadoda angiqhema ingozi engeqiwantwala angithembisa umshado angithembisa igolide nesiliva uthi bakhohlwa okukodwa vongo wesifazane ukuba akukho xhwanele emvubulo ehliwa zimbwenya baxwebisa iziba amanxeba asemzimbeni kamama aqopha omkhulu umlando amanxeba asemzimbeni kamama aqopha omkhulu umlando uthi umama zibazi nje lezi silimele kakhulu thina ngaphakathi ngifica inxeba lakhe lesibili bekade lisemlomeni wakhe uthi mntanami kunabesifazana abaphucwa ilungelo labo lokuzikhulumela ishoba labo lokuziphungela uthi kokona konke usungamehluleli umuntu wesifazane ngoba ilowo nalowo unenxeba lakhe amanxeba asemzimbeni kamama mina aqopha omkhulu umlando uthi umamazi ibazi nje lezi silimele kakhulu thina ngaphakathi ngifica inxeba lakhe lesithathu bekade lisesibelethweni sakhe uthi mntanami ngishowa uvalo uma lenxeba ulifica usadlandlavana ngoba loyandlavini okuzalayo wayengishaya ngibhangqane zindonga umzimba ushintsha ukhala esho ngesankahla umlisa ethi lo mntwana akanakuphuma la zibuke mntanami uzibukisise winzalo yamanxeba winzalo yamanxeba amanxeba asemzimbeni kamama mina aqopha omkhulu umlando uthi umamazi ibazi nje lezi silimele kakhulu thina ngaphakathi ngifica inxeba lakhe lesine esithweni sakhe sangasese uthi umama hemntanami kunamadoda angenanhliziyo angenangendluzula uthi akuthatha konke esidlangalalene kwakuyigugu kimi khumbule mntanami bangiphuqa ilungelo lami lokuzikhulumela ishoba lami lokuziphungela uthi kodwa kukhona konke uzungamehluleli umuntu wesifazane ngoba ilona lo muntu wesifazane unenxeba lakhe ngifica inxeba lakhe lesihlane bekade lisemathangeni akhe uthi amathanga ahlanzela abangena amabhoda wamamathanga ahlanzela abadizambane likapondo uthi babefuna kwakungehla kwethanga ukuze bakwazi ukunginika umsebenzi uthi baningi abesifazane abahleze ezikhundleni eziphezulu abadele ukungehla kwethanga ukuze bathole umsebenzi uthi uzungabehluleli uthi uzungabehluleli baphume beyokusebenzela abantwana babo uthi nawe mntanami winzalo yamanxeba uzibuke uzibukisise uzungamehluleli umuntu wesifazane bathole kanzima labo mama uthe kunenxeba lakhe lesithupha engizolithola emadolweni akhe wathi mama leli nxeba uyalithola kubona bonke abesifazane abazibiza ngamakholwa uthi ngoba iningi labo bavele bakhathale mekumele bakhuthale longamele bakhuthalele uthi imvamisa yabo bakhothamela nalabo ababahlukumezayo uthi naloke umuntu wesifazane lo udla izithukuthuku zakhe emihla namalanga amanxeba amama aqopha omkhulu umlando amanxeba asemzimbeni kamama mina aqopha omkhulu umlando uthi umamazi ibazi nje lezi silimele kakhulu thina ngaphakathi ngifica inxeba lakhe lesikhombisa ebekade lisezinyaweni zakhe uthi leli nxeba lithola kubona bonke omama bomzabalazo uthi uzubatshela ukuthi lemkhuzuko eyesikhashana labenyathela khona bahambe emhlabathini ovundile kusala qonsa igazi kuhluma izimbaba uthi uzubatsheleke mntanami ukuthi mina noma ngihamba esigodini sethunzi lokufa kodwa nize ningakwesabi okubi ngoba amanxeba asemzimbeni kamama aqopha omkhulu umlando angilazi inxeba lakho nelakho futhi nomsaduba angilazi inxeba lakho kodwa semzimbeni kamama ongizalayo aqopha omkhulu umlando I thank you bonke amafatheni
Amandla Alibongwe igama lamakhosikazi if we were in Limpopo Mr. President pertlare ungwana mang mara ngwana wo ke ngwana wa mosadi program directors Manuel Mtetwa and yena yedo Sindile Goodness Mavimbela was now the other day both for arts and culture the MEC for finance and acting premier for just this coming few minutes. Under your leadership, Mr. President. Honorable members, honorable ministers and deputy ministers, honorable members of parliament and the legislature, Mngungundlovu district, led by Yenayedo Mzi Zuma and Madam Zuma, and Barakimani Gloria, members of the traditional council, Makoskas Sanbonan. That's where I end my Zulu. Today we will celebrate the formidable women of 1956 and many other women who fought wars for the liberation of our country. Today we stand proud of the women who refused to be silenced and continued championing the issues of discrimination, subjugation, and oppression against women and all South Africans and all Africans. Indeed, Bomme, Charlotte, Mahomu, Manye, Mateke. How can we forget Me Sophie Dubrain? How can we forget Me Gertrude Shope? How can we forget Me Dorothy Nyembe? That's where we come from. Lebo Masisulu and all of them. They led us with no tenders, Mr. President. There were no tenders. There was no PFMA. There was no stealing, just them taking the lead and us following. And what kept us going? Resilience. Resilience, resilience of women of South Africa that is known even by the diplomats who are with us in this room and outside. Even recognized by the UN. We remain confident that the collective resilience of women will be critical in the renewal, reconstruction, and rebuilding of South Africa economy under you, Mr. President. In that, we will be leaving nobody and no one behind. Under your leadership, Honorable President, we have witnessed great strides in the advancement of gender equality. We have experienced 50% representation in your cabinet. We now say, I heard this from Mashope Sesbalega, saying we had championed political emancipation. Ninage, make sure with your president that this socio-economic development of women becomes a reality. The face of the women should not be poverty and ukshawa, wounds all over. I've had women, we had a dinner with women judges who were also talking about, wounds. This is about time that through resilience and under your leadership, we not only conquer COVID-19, but we conquer gender violence and femicide. Everywhere else, they cry of GBV. But in South Africa, there's this addition of men who are supposed to love women, killing women and young women. And you had said in many occasions, and I've listened to you, these women don't call this to themselves, but they find themselves being beaten. I remember once I had a conversation with Sis Balek and saying, she once had a neighbor who said, hey, where is that man? He must come back from where he is. As Shire, the way Angshire kon. Was gulala, but agabuye ekaya early. This is the story of the South African women, of taking care of the household and the neighborhood and all over the place. It is this my great honor and pleasure and honor to invite our President, Your Excellency Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa. The people of Richmond and all over South Africa are waiting to listen to you.
Amandla. Sanbonani. Dumelang. Dimacheroni. Dimacheroni. Akuzwakali kahle ngapha. Unyambose uthi abanye benu nithi nakuwe makuyinhlamba. Akusiyona inhlamba. Uma ngithi ndimacheroni ilo limi lwamanye amalimi elikhulunywa leLimpopo niphendula nithi abudi ndimacheroni akusiyona inhlamba. Absheni absheni. Oh nibambe kahle leyo. Ngiyajabula impela kuba lapha. Program Director uMama Vimbela uthe anisebahle. Kodwa lokho makukhulunywa umuntu wesifazana akuyindawo. Kodwa makukhulunywa yimi uma ngithi nibahle hayi niyazizwela nani ukuthi ngempela nibahle. Kuyiqiniso futhi. Minister in the presidency, Minister Maite Nkwana Mashabane, O Minister bonke bethu abalapha. We have a number of ministers and deputy ministers who are in attendance. MECs and the leadership of KwaZulu Natal government and MEC ngeke asaba MEC skhathi esizayo. So uze ilahla le position yokuba MEC. Uzoba nesinye isikhundla esingaphezulu. Uzoba aphathe yonke le province. Bayathanda noma abathandi. Uzoba iphethe. Unobusa wakaNcube Dube. Ngiyambingelela. Ngiyajabula ukuhlala eduze kwakhe. Ngoba kule insuku ezizayo sesizambiza ukuthi iPremier. Yona iPremier yokuqala yomuntu wesifazane in 28 years. Lapha KwaZulu Natal. Masimbongeleni. Siyambongela impela. Sazinika ithuba lokumenza interview. So inkokheli zalapha eKZN zasinika amagama amathathu. Amagama amathathu abantu abesifazane who are all capable. Some interview abesifuna ukubona kahle ukuthi simzwe kahle ukuthi uyakwazi ukukhuluma na. Nokuthi uyakwazi nokukhuluma isingesi. Hayi samuza impela. And sambona ukuthi nama policies kahulumeni uyawazi. Nama policy waka ANC uyawazi. So uye wapasa kahle, wapasa yonke into. That's why elapha again. The mayors and councillors of our various municipalities, Nkosi Mhlawuli, amakhosi akhona lapha nezinduna, abaholi bezenkolo, leaders of the leader of the governing party, Usiboniso Duma, ohlezi lapha phambili akasemhle namhlanje. As well as leaders of various other political parties and also leaders of organizations that represent the women of our country, the ANC Women's League, the leadership is here, the IFP, the DA, the EFF, the NFP. I greet you all. I greet all the ambassadors and high commissioners who are here, and business leaders, as well as all South Africans. Ngiyanibingelela nonke, ngiyajabula impela ukuba lapha. Sibingelela futhi nogogo bethu, omama bethu, odadewethu, nabo bonke abantu abesifazane. We are happy to be here, and ngizokhuluma ngesingesi ngoba abantu abamamele lokhu esizakukhuluma lapha bakumamele kuyo yonke le South Africa ngoba usuku olubaluleke kakhulu kwabantu besifazane. So many of our people are listening. So ngizobamba lapho nalapho ngesiZulu, kodwa in the main zawukhuluma ngesingesi. Today we are commemorating, and in a way also celebrating, but more of a commemoration. Commemorating the important day that helped to change the course of our country in the struggle for freedom and democracy and human dignity. 66 years ago, more than 20,000 women representing black, white, young, old, urban, rural, who were mothers, who were daughters, who were our sisters, bravely marched to Pretoria to tell the apartheid Prime Minister, Straydom, that they would no longer be carrying dom passes. They carried reams and reams of petitions to go and deposit them at the union buildings. Bati, mabefika lapho uStraydom wabalega, waphuma nge-back door wabalega, so that he would not be able to confront these women. They came as thousands from around the country, and they came in trains, in buses, on foot, and all of them going to the union buildings. Abanye babo bebephuma khona la, KwaZulu Natal, organized by great women leaders. Mama Dorothy Nyembe, Mama Fatima Mir, Mama Florence Mkhize, and others. There were also others from other provinces who were led by the giants of our struggle, like Mama Lillian Ngoyi, Sophie de Bruyn, Helen Joseph, Albertina Sisulu, and many others. Abanye bebephuma la KZN, they were stopped along the way. Bebebona laba be-apartheid amaphoyisa ukuthi kuzoba nengozi enkulu lapha e-union buildings. Babavimbela ukuthi bangaqhubeki ukuya e-union buildings, so they were stopped. But many did get to the union buildings, where they joined the march shouting their warning to the Prime Minister, bethi kuye Straydom, wathinta bafazi, wathinta imbokodo. Bathi basop uzakufa. Finish. Ngenxa yomzabalazo yabesifazane beka 1956, who were brave and who were determined and who were also prepared to make sacrifices. The women of South Africa today have attained a number of rights. They've attained a number of opportunities that their grandmothers, their great-grandmothers, and their great-grandmothers were denied for years and years. The struggle of the women of our country is not done yet. There is still a mighty struggle that still needs to be engaged. We still need to uplift the women of our country to a level where they are equal to men. In South Africa, however, today, we have made a lot of progress. The progress that we have made tells a story of how far we have come. In the past, we did not have the type of developments that we have in the form of the rights and the opportunities that women have today. In South Africa today, girls learn alongside boys in our primary and secondary schools and receive equal education. This never used to happen. Last year, more females passed matric exams and got more distinctions than their male counterparts. Okubonisa ukuthi abantu besifazane amantombazana ethu ahlakaniphe ukudlula laba bafana. Kuyabona kuyacaca kucacile impela ngoba uma sobala ama distinctions uwabala kahle o maths o science uzothola ukuthi amantombazana ahambela phambili laba abanye basahambela emuva. There are currently more female students enrolled at our universities and our colleges than males. Uma uya ema university akhathali noma uya kwephi uzothola ukuthi many of those who are registered are female students rather than male students. It shows a great deal of progress bekungayenzeki lokho in the past. Close on to half of our members of parliament are now female. When we come to our judges and our magistrates, more and more of them are female. And we now about to have a deputy chief justice who is a female for the first time in the history of our country. And she stands there as a role model. Role model incoming Deputy Chief Justice Umaya as a role model for all the young women, all the lawyers where she demonstrates that yes, it is possible for anybody to reach that level. And I am sure, absolutely sure that one day we are going to have a Chief Justice who is a woman. More than 60% of the public servants in our government system are women. In South Africa today, women are champions. Like Ibanyana Banyana, not Bafana Bafana, Banyana Banyana. They brought home their very first Women's Africa Cup of Nations trophy last week, and they happen to be women. Just as the pioneers of the Women's March of 1956 were the role models, the young women and the girls of today have no shortage of role models. Uma ngibuka nalapha, and I look at all of you as the women of our country gathered here. Many of you are role models. Many young women look up to you. If they can just come upstage here, banbuke nonke nihlezi lapha, bazobona ama role models. Where you are role models for the young girls of our country. And I urge you to keep on being role models. Ngoba sifuna ukukhuphula labantwana bamantombazana ukuthi nabo bakhuphuke baye phezulu. With the right support, they too can become anything they want to be. From star soccer players to fighter jet pilots. Niyakhumbula ngesikhathi se-inauguration, one of the women who was flying one of those fighter planes was a woman. And sonke, we were so impressed that we now have a number of women in our Air Force, in our Army, in our Navy, who are women. Engukuthandayo kakhulu on Armed Forces Day, ukubabona those women baphethe ibhamu ezinkulu, bedriver ama-truck amakhulu, bafake ne-lipstick yabo. Hayi ngithi hayi, Sambela Pambi. There was a time when the Defense Force banned lipstick. Ngathi hayibo ngizawukhipha presidential order. Mayibuye leyo lipstick. Ukuthi on Armed Forces Day, uma bephethe le ibhamu ezinkulu, babonakala impela ukuthi one bahle, bafake ne lipstick yabo and demonstrate that they are prepared to fight for this country. Siyababonga. So our young women today can be stars. They can be judges. The door is open. They can be members of parliament. They can be businessmen and businesswomen rather. And they can be entrepreneurs. But notwithstanding what I have said, ukuthi amasango, the doors are open. But for many young women, there are several obstacles they first have to overcome. Kunezinto nezizathu ezibavimbelayo ukuthi bangakwazi ukufika lapho bafuna ukufika khona. In South Africa, like in many countries around the world, women bear the brunt of poverty. And we often say that the face of poverty in our country is that of a woman. But more importantly, it is that of a black woman. And more importantly, it is that of an African woman. 3/4 of female-headed households live in poverty. The slow growth of our economy and the impact of COVID-19 has been particularly hard on women, on young people, and persons with disabilities. Lapha Richmond, la niphila khona, nearly half of all households are female-headed. Many families here are led by women. Since the advent of democracy, we have implemented policies to address the impact of poverty on women. Mothers and grandmothers have access to comprehensive social services, including child grant support. To support poor families, especially those from single-parent households, learners are exempted from paying school fees and they receive meals at school. And when we talk about meals, people often forget ukuthi lo hulumeni wethu on a daily basis throughout the country we provide food to almost 9 million young people for 5 days every week. I know of no government on the continent that does that. So the government has initiated many programs to care for those who are vulnerable and those who are poor. Women are more likely to be unemployed than men. When we look at the unemployment figures, many more women are unemployed. Around half of all women in South Africa are unemployed, including those who have given up looking for work. On average, women still earn far less than men. This was shown or thrown into the spotlight with the victory of Banyana Banyana, and I spoke about this, where I found ukuthi, much as we applaud Banyana Banyana, imali abazoyithola is far less than what Bafana Bafana would get if they won the cup. And I said, kufanele ukuthi kupheliswe lokho, kube ne equal pay for equal work. Ngoba it makes no political, no economic, no social sense whatsoever that we remunerate men for equal work that they do with women and remunerate women far less. And lokho sesizakubheka ukuthi kube nomthetho. We must begin to demonstrate our seriousness about equality between men and women, and we are going to do it. Whether bayathanda amadoda noma abathandi kuzawenzeka. Nina niyakuthanda? Izwa uthi ayahlupheka amadoda. Hayi, uhlupheka abantu besifazane more. Women do not get paid for caring for the elderly. They do not get paid for caring for children and other family members. Bayafukuza ubusuku nasemini kodwa akukho abakutholayo okubonakalayo. So the time has come for us to pay unremunerated work, the work that women do. And the time that women spend doing work in the home limits their ability to earn money through employment or run their own businesses. Funa ukuthi nimamele kahle, nike nithule kancane nimamele. Ngoba lokhu kubalulekile. Uma sifanele ukuthi sixazulule le problem, sifanele ukuthi sazi sonke ukuthi what strategies and initiatives are we going to put in place. Ngoba it is a must that we must address this challenge that the women of our country are facing. Siyazi lapha eRichmond abantu abaningi baphelelwe imisebenzi. Abasebenzi nalapha eMgungundlovu we know ukuthi abasebenzi. There are limited opportunities, especially for young people. We also have the problem in this country of young girls being taken out of school early to perform household duties, to care for younger siblings, and to look for work to support the family. We need to change this so that young girls can finish schools. Umasibuka kahle sithola ukuthi amantombazane usually yibo abatshelwa ukuthi mabahlale ekhaya and abafana baqhubeke baye phambili. That too must change. Government is working to enable women to participate in the economy in a more meaningful way. Gender equality will not be achieved unless women are financially secure and independent. Here in Umgungundlovu District Municipality, we are providing temporary work opportunities to women through the Community Works Program, the expanded Public Works Program, and by supporting community caregivers and community health workers as well. Female entrepreneurs, especially small business owners, are supported through the province's rural and township economies revitalization strategy. Premier law sugayo manje Comrade Sihle Zikalala has briefed me extensively about this program, and I know that the incoming Premier is also going to continue with this program. The provincial government, through the Radical Agrarian Socio-Economic Transformation Program, is also helping women access land for farming and get their produce to the market. So far, it has assisted over 3,500 farmers, with the majority of these farmers being women and young, and the majority of them also coming from rural areas like Umgungundlovu. Women entrepreneurs need companies. They also need departments and customers to buy their products and services. Government has committed to set aside 40% of public procurement spend to women-owned businesses. 40%. Kodwa lapha eKZN kwangathi izawufika ku-50%. And siyakubonga lokho. Now we've been holding workshops countrywide to equip and train abantu besifazane with skills to do business with government and the private sector. However, we saw that much as we had said 40% procurement should go to women-led businesses, we needed to do quite a lot of skills upgrading to assist them and to support them to get to that level. And this is the responsibility that we have taken as government, not just to put a policy in place, but to also ensure that, yes, we are going to be supportive and we will ensure that the women of our country do get the skills. Between September this year and January next year, we plan to reach all 11 districts here in KwaZulu Natal with our training programs. To ensure better access to finance, we want entities like the Industrial Development Corporation, IDC, the PIC, and the National Empowerment Fund to make further resources available to women-owned businesses, because we don't want to have a situation where we say, here are opportunities, and yet there is no funding to help the women to capture those opportunities. Uma City, now ama opportunities, ifuna ukuthi abantu besifazane, they must be able to take them up and make sure ukuthi they become real. Kungabi into esikhuluma ngomlomo kuphela. Gender-based violence continues to be a stain on our celebrations today. Hardly a day goes by in South Africa without a report of women being attacked, being violated, or even being killed by men. And this cannot continue, and this has to stop. During COVID, I did say, Uguti, gender-based violence and femicide has become the second pandemic that we had to deal with. The women of South Africa have had enough of being afraid. They are afraid to go anywhere. They are afraid to go out after dark. Abantu abaningi besifazane bathi asikwazi ukuphuma uma ilanga selishonile. They are afraid of being attacked in their own homes. They are afraid of being preyed on in the classroom. They are afraid for the safety of their children, even from their own relatives. They are also afraid of being women in South Africa. A number of them have said it is a burden to be a woman in South Africa. We should not see this as a woman's problem, when it is in fact, this is in fact a problem, yamadoda. This is a man's problem, and it is a man-made problem. We as men are the ones who are causing these problems that make the women of our country to be afraid to walk in the streets, to walk in the pathways of our rural areas. It is a problem of men who have no respect for women, who feel that they can do whatever they like with their girlfriends or their partners because they buy them airtime, they buy them food, they buy them clothes or groceries. It is a problem of men who lack the maturity to accept the end of a relationship and hunt down their ex-wives or ex-girlfriends and even kill them in the process. It is a problem of men who think that culture custom and religion empowers them to hit their wives, their sisters, their daughters, and some of them to even hit their own mothers, and by so doing deprive them of their rights. It is a problem of men who hold positions of influence and authority. And I heard the young lady here was saying that abanye who hold positions of authority, uma umuntu wesifazane ufana ukuthi advance, they demand sex, they demand favors because they happen to hold a position of authority. And this must come to an end. Taking advantage of women must come to an end. Here in Richmond, like in many places around the country, sexual assaults and other violent crimes are connected to alcohol abuse, and many take place in or around places where alcohol is sold. It takes place ematavenini, emashepinini, and that is where all these assaults happen. This is not the South Africa for which the women of 1956 marched. The women of 1956 marched so that all the women in our country can have their rights, and their rights must not be limited by an unjust regime or men who want to abuse women. They did not sacrifice to see the end of slavery, of the apartheid, only for today's women to live in prisons of fear. Earlier this year, we passed 3 important laws that will strengthen the fight against gender-based violence. These laws give greater protection to victims of domestic violence. The new laws empower the police to enter premises without a warrant, and if necessary, to arrest a suspect without a warrant. Police can also remove dangerous weapons from a suspect. Complainants will be able to apply for protection, a protection order online. Uye ku-internet uma unomuntu okuhluphayo wesilisa uthole i-protection order even online. New provisions expand the scope of the National Register of Sexual Offenders and place a legal responsibility on all to report any sexual offenses committed against vulnerable people. There are now far stricter conditions under which a suspect may be granted bail. Oh, mama betu, no sis betu, when we held the first summit, a gender summit, they were complaining, ukuthi labo abahlukumeza abantu besifazane, they get bail just very easily. A person commits rape and even murder, and they get bail easily. Now we have tightened up even the obtaining bail. Perpetrators will now get harsher sentences, much harsher sentences than before. Now we can say that silence is no longer an option. Umthetho omtsha manje uthi, if you know, if you saw ukuthi kunomuntu wesifazane who has been raped, umuntu wesifazane who has been assaulted, now the law says you can no longer remain silent. Ngoba if you remain silent kungaboshwa nawe futhi othulile. So manje sisonke, this has to be a societal fight against gender-based violence, because it is unacceptable ukuthi abanye bethu amongst us as citizens are continuously being abused by others. That has to come to an end. And we must therefore break the silence. Ukuthula kufanele ukuthi kuphele. Because silence is the dark corner in which women and children are abused, they are beaten, they are raped, they are killed. Ebumnyameni, in the dark. And that is where silence resides. Silence is the dark cloud under which men allow their friends to ill-treat women, to ill-treat children and members of the LGBTQIA+ community as a display of their manliness. Silence is the cancer that eats away at women who protect their husbands, their sons, their partners, and boyfriends who abuse them, their children, and other women because they are financially dependent on them. Abantu besifazane bavele bathi hayi noma engishaya nje ondla umndeni wethu unginika imali and uma ngamreporta ngizayithola phi imali ngoba huye osondlayo. That must come to an end. On this Women's Day, I want to call on every South African to play their part in the fight against gender-based violence and femicide by speaking out. And I want to say to the men of our country, if you are a father, would you want your daughters to be subjected to the violence, to the rape, or to the murder that many of the women of our country are subjected to? I am absolutely certain that all of us will say, no, we don't want that to happen. And do you want your mother, your wife to be subjected to that? We will all wholesomely say no. And that is why I call upon all of us as South Africans, especially as men, which I have done repeatedly, that we need to treat the women of our country with respect, with dignity, and with recognition. In 2021, we introduced a 100-day challenge to pilot interventions to fast-track the provision of services to survivors of gender-based violence. In the sites, kulezo ndawo where we introduced this challenge, there has been a great deal of progress and success because we have seen reduction in offenses or cases where they have reduced by 42%. And the backlog has also reduced by almost 80%. And survivors of gender-based violence are able to access legal and psychosocial support services more easily. In November, we will hold the second presidential summit on gender-based violence and femicide, where we will do a detailed assessment of the implementation of what we decided at the first gender-based violence summit. And we will look at how far we have implemented the National Strategic Plan and chart a way forward. We gather here today to mark Women's Day, deeply aware of the many challenges that the women of South Africa confront every day. We gather here as well knowing that poverty, discrimination, and violence continues to hold back the progress of the country's women and girls. If there is anything that's holding back your progress as the women of our country, yes, it is violence, but it is also poverty. But we also gather here to celebrate the achievements of many South African women from all parts of the country, from all walks of life, who have in many ways overcome enormous obstacles to excel in their chosen fields. I was at a function the other day which was convened by the International Women Judges Association, and where they were honoring our Deputy Chief Justice designate, Justice Maya. And she spoke very, very passionately about the suffering that the women of our country are going through. And she detailed, in great detail, set out the various areas in which the women of our country are really bearing a heavy burden. But she ended her speech by saying, by quoting Mrs. Obama's speech somewhere, where she said that much as all this is happening, we cannot be held back by pessimism. We must remain optimistic and continue to struggle for better progress, for the attainment of better rights for the women of our country. And that is the approach that we should have. We must recognize the challenges that the women of our country are going through, but at the same time, we must continue the struggle. We must not be pessimistic. We must be optimistic and know that the struggle that was waged by the 20,000 women of 1956 was not wasted. The sacrifices they paid were not wasted, and we will, as the women of South Africa, triumph and succeed one of these days. And that is the commitment that we have. We gather here, sisonke, we say, we will spare no effort to build a non-sexist society in which men and women have equal opportunities and prospects. The women who marched on the Union buildings 66 years ago demonstrated the power and the resolve of the women of South Africa. They were determined that women should take their rightful place in a free and democratic society. And as we honor their bravery, and as we commemorate the enormous struggle that they waged, let us continue their struggle. Let us achieve their vision. Progress is being made on an ongoing basis. And I'm able to say this progress is even going further down even to organizations. Organizations that now have embraced the issue that yes, there must be equal representation in the structures of various organizations. Saying ukuthi nami ku-cabinet engiholayo, we've made sure ukuthi yes, there will be 50-50 men and women, and kuzawuhlala kube njalo, because there's no reason whatsoever for us to think that men are better than women. In fact, what I have found, Oguti, when you have a woman in a key position, you really have a top performer. You are about to see that lapha KwaZulu Natal. Yabonga kakhulu. Soon we will be celebrating sizobhiyoza. Ufuna ukuthi nenkomo ibe khona, nami ngizawufika when we have our first female premier lapha KwaZulu Natal. Ngiyabonga.
ixesha lifikile phakama nomsadube ixesha lifikile phakama nomsadube ixesha lifikile you need KZN ixesha lifikile you need KZN amandla siyabonga mangameli ngikholwa ukuthi onamadlebe uzwile equal benefit for equal work awugcinanga lapho mengameli uqhubekile wathi in your cabinet you have represented what you are saying to us mhlambe esekusele ezumbutho wesizwe kufanele sikwenze akube khona kumthetho sisekelo manje le 50-50 representation so that other political parties ezokwazi uku-implementa because we are having a responsibility as the African National Congress to lead the people of this country and make sure ukuthi sikhulula bonke abantu besifazane kuzo zonke inhlangano ezikhona ezweni ngoba esikubonayo kuyasethusa ngoba in councils in legislature even in parliament asiyiboni ibalance because political parties they are not doing what you are saying in terms of 50-50 representation so ke kufanele umthetho sisekelo ngikholwa ukuthi namanye ama parties angakwazi ukusilekelela ekutheni siqinisekise ukuthi siyawuthola lo 50-50 iphuthe engilenzile ke I didn't introduce my role models here the beautiful sisters who are doing interpretation maybe president I have to declare ukuthi kusukela kulo hlanganela kwanamhlanje la I'm going to walk with my held eye because I know that I am a role model. These are also role models. They are doing umsebenzi omkhulu kabi ukuthi they are interpreting for all of us here. Kukhona uMiss Funani Tlati kanye noMsandile Mngadi. Those are the two interpreters that we are having today. You acknowledge bodadewethu umsebenzi wenu eniwenzayo muhle kakhulu. Kodwa futhi ngabe ngenza iphutha uma ngase ngingabuncomi ubuholi besifundazwe sakwaZulu Natal. Ikakhulukazi obukhokhela labo mama bagqoke njengami namhlanje. Udadewethu ulunga igcabashi kunye nodadewethu ufikile emasiko. Hayi bagqoke kahle oma. Nibahle boma enqokiso kwami namhlanje niyadominate la endlini ngicabanga ukuthi nomangameli is impressed ngicabanga ukuthi bekubalulekile ukuthi ngikwenze lokho by the way president this province of KwaZulu Natal when we are saying we are deliberate in terms of making sure that women are leading asikwenzi sixoxa ledeni uyabona le ward esikuyona lapha esikhona la esilahle kuqhamuka khona uDeputy Mayor who is the women so size wardini eno deputy mayor wesifazane so ke okusho ukuthi asikhulumi into esingayenzi senza njengokwesho kwethu ikakhulu ke ngoba uhola lapha ya ebuholeni begatsha unobhala wegatsha udadewethu lona uDeputy Mayor wala eRichmond so ke siyahola nje singabantu besifazane futhi sihola kahle dadewethu Nomusa when president was addressing I'm not going to repeat amazwi asho president kodwa kunamagama awashilo angithintileyo ngoba nondodakazi wami la obesha inkondlo uthena ibazi zethu ziningi kodwa silimele kakhulu ngaphakathi thina sonke abantu besifazane esila endlini singofakazi kodwa we are walking tall despite izibazi namanxeba esinawo ngaphakathi. As you are saying that we are going to give you the full support uzonikezelwa lo msebenzi wokhola iprovince yaKwaZulu Natal. Ngicabanga ukuthi onke amakhosikazi aqhamuka kuzo zonke inhlangano ezikhona la KwaZulu Natal asho njalo athi lezi inhlungu ezenza ukuthi sibe nemlomo ebomvu ekade ngithi ngiyayibheka lipstick yami nami ngoba I wanted to dress my mouth with the red lipstick ngoba ungirevivile upresident ukuthi akusho ukuthi ena when we are giving umsebenzi othile ukuthi wenze shintsha ukuba umuntu wesifazane yiba umuntu wesifazane. I was also saying that ukuthi ibanyana banyana isi represente kahle ngoba today you can see ukuthi these are ladies. Before ubuye ubona ibanyana banyana engama tomboy. The women Kosafa tournament is in our province. The ladies with hairstyles with lipstick they are playing. By the way, South Africa is represented by Imamelodi Sundowns ladies. They are doing very well. They are playing even today. And they are the ladies. So, as abantu besifazane, let us walk tall. And sibe ngabantu besifazane singashintshi ukuba ngabesifazane sishintshiswe ngama position sizama ukuba ngabanye abantu. Sengihlala phansi ke ngiyathanda nje ukusho ukuthi ena you a beautiful audience. Ngiyanithanda uyazi. Nithi noma senihamba nibuyele emakhaya nisho ukuthi nginithanda ngothando lwakwa love. I'm going to give the opportunity to our speaker of the district Dadewethu Nonhlahla wakwagabela. By the way, Dadewethu Nonhlahla wakwagabela was the former secretary of the ANC Women's League in this province. Ngifuna ukusho with pride and confidence because KwaZulu Natal ayidisbandwanga ngoba sihlulekile ukuyisa abantu besifazane kwi conference. It's because a term of office iphelile ngenxa yezimo ze COVID but they were leading us very well. Thank you very much Mama Nonhlahla Khoza no Dadewethu Nonhlahla Gabela nisihole kahle kwaze kwala. We are making a commitment before the leadership ukuthi we are going to deliver a conference here Women's League in this province. Okay, we have also delivered the deputy chairperson of the province as the Women's League. Malibongwe.
Program Director Umama Umavimbela nobaba umthethwa ngiyabingelela. Ngizocela ukuthi lo msebenzi wokubonga ngiwenze ngesikhathi ngibingelela ngehla ngishona enzansi khona kuzoshesha. Your Excellency President of the Republic of South Africa, President Cyril Ramaphosa, Baba Matamela, uthe ufika wathi ngimuhle. Angiqale ngibonge lokho nje ukuthi uthe ngimuhle mongameli. Ngiyabonga kakhulu mongameli. Siyabonga kakhulu mongameli ukuba khona kwakho kule province yaKwaZulu Natal, kule district yaseMgungundlovu. I district enamaliba amaqhawe mongameli. Amaqhawe alelwa lelizwe. Alwela lo mzabalazo. Kulomhlaba esikuwo mongameli. Njengoba simile kulomhlabathi wase Richmond, zikhona intombi ezalala. Zilalela lo mzabalazo wasinikeza inkululeko. Ezinye zazo lezo ntombi uDadewethu staff wakaphoswa olama uJustice Phoswa lapha yaphezulu bazomazi abala indawo endaleni. Siyabonga kakhulu mongameli ukuthi ukhetha ukuza kule province yethu ebekade inedubedube eziningi kusukela ngonyaka odlule sibe nelooting yezitolo saba nama floods kodwa okukhulu kakho konke okungavuma ukudlula mongameli gender based violence in our province. Njengoba simela ngiyamangibheka isikhathi mongameli isikhathi sokuthi sesiyavala kodwa kumnomndeni lapha ya emzimkhulu mongameli engicabanga ukuthi nawo uyaphuma njengamanje uyobeka umntwana wabo endlini yokugcina obulawe lapha endaweni yaseCrichton. Abantwana ababili ababulawe lisonto edlule, omunye ubekwe ngomgqibelo, omunye uyabekwa lapha emzimkhulu. Bebehlalele imfundo mongameli, bebeqashile beyoncela ulwazi esikoleni, kwafika inswela boya zabahlahlela ngembazo zababulala. Okusho ukuthi gender based violence mongameli isifo esikhulu. Yes, usudlulile ucorona, kodwa iGBV KwaZulu Natal mongameli saze safa singabantu besifazane. Siyabonga ukuba khona kodwa sikufuna ukuphathisa umphako. Kubona bonke ungqongqoshe wezemidlalo umfowethu uNathi. Siyabonga ngqongqoshe ukuthi nikhethe le province kakhulu ukuthi nize la kuthina. Minister of Women, Youth and People with Disabilities uMama Umayite, my former TG of the ANC Women's League. Siyabonga kakhulu Mbogodo ukuthi nikhethe iprovince yethu. The premier ngokwe ngamazwi okuba ngabhalelwa bekubhalwe upremier ubaba uzikalala. Manje ngiyazibuza ukuthi ngoba bese ngizwile nje umfowethu uSiboniso Duma bekhuluma engabe izoshoko kanjani le ndaba. Sesiyabonga mongameli ukuthi usala usuyisho ukuthi kwenzeke okokuqala kule province yethu, kwenzeke futhi lokho ngingakaze kuze kwenzeke, kuze kuphula umthetho. Mongameli mayingena la endlini uthi hayi mina Nomsa ngizosho ukuthi uzoba upremier kodwa kuthiwa akukho emthethweni, kodwa ngizokusho lokho nje kukodwa mongameli ukuthi kwenzeke kufanele kuqale. Kodwa kuqalike mongameli bese sivele sesilate ngoba okamdlongomane uhlanga lomhlabathi lathi malulala lathi labeka uNdlunkulu wesifazana ukuthi aphathe ahole isizwe KwaZulu Natal. Nathi ke asihambile eceleni uma kuukuthi sibeka umuntu wesifazane. Siyabonga kakhulu mongameli, sibonge kwi leadership yenhlangano yabantu base South Africa. Baba Mseleku siyabonga kakhulu. By the way, ibhodi yakho icrash yami nje ngangithi ngiyoshada nensizwe ende kwangenzeka. Ibhodi yakhe ayiyena ibhodi. Premier wakwaZulu Natal. Premier wakwaZulu Natal. Awubakithi ngisho insizwa ngangithi ngiyoshada nalezi ezayithanda ushaka ezayisukile. Premier wakwaZulu Natal dadwethu uNomsa Dube Ncube ungakagcotshwa unjalo kodwa umongameli useshile umlomo ongathethi imanga. Seyishile inqole emasondo ukuthi sizawulidwa imbokodo ingudlungudlu. Sizawunikeza ke mama isupport. Siyakuthanda, siyafisa ukuthi engathi ungakhula nezinyanya omama uLulu Gwala, oJabu Ndlovu intombi ezalala, omama uFlorence Mkhize zikugade zikusibekele ungabaphakameli abantu, ungabakhohlwa abantu, ungabakhohlwa abantu. MEC waka Sports, Recreation, Arts and Culture wakwaZulu Natal udadewethu Hlengiwe Mavimbela. Siyabonga kakhulu nangendlela nje osiphathele ngayo iprogram. Siyabonga kakhulu ko-minister bonke no deputy minister bonke. Siyabonga your presence in the province, in this district yaseMgungundlovu. Honorable members of the provincial legislature, ziholo umama uNontembeko Boyce no deputy wakhe bengimbonile. Siyabonga kakhulu leadership ukuba khona kwenu kona wonke ama ambassadors ezwile ukuthi akhona phakathi kwethu. Speakers, deputy mayors, ngibabonile ke omeya bethu mongameli. Umeya we district yala umzi wokuthula Zuma Ngamalala maphume phetha amasi ngapha nenyama ngapha umashingizela ashiya impi yakhe silidwa uyena Ngamalala lapha ngibabonile ukhona umeya wase Mshwathi Babu Zondi Mayor wase Mpofana ngimbonile the only female mayor in this district umama uMorin Magubane mbonile umeya wase Richmond uSamora Siminenkosi Ndlovu nobhala wombutho wabantu ngimbonile umeya wase Mkhambathini ubaba Ntombela ngimbonile umeya wase Msunduzi the city of choice sihlalo wenhlangano yabantu ngibabonile no deputy bonke Madlamini ngibabonile umama uMkhize ngibabonile uspeaker lapha yabakhona siyabonga kakhulu leadership yonke eholwa umama uMhlawuli yezo abaholi bendlu yamakhosi siyabonga kakhulu abaholi bosoma business bonke provincial district and local administration and management siyabonga kakhulu kusihlelela umcimbi oyimpumelelo kangaka umphakathi wonke nje okhona kuona wonke ama local municipalities awu7 bese kuba iwona wonke ama district akhona KwaZulu Natal awu11 bese kuba iwona wonke amagumbi amane omhlaba aphelelela ngibona ngisho abantu bako Eastern Cape siyabonga kakhulu ukuthi nikhethe le province enesibongo negama ukuthi nize kuyona silana sinana nama delegates azobehleli ku-Women's Parliament kusasa all political parties present sibonge kumama uPhumzile Mbathacele ongusihlalo wethu ukuthi asicelele nasendlunkulu ukuthi sikwazi ukugqoka imfaniswano yethu ukuze sikwazi ukuba bahle kangaka kodwa ngibingelele lapha yakwinyokana ehlazana mabona bulawe malibongwe kama lamakhosikazi umabona bulawe ke uholo umama ubaleka Mbethe intombi endala ingqalabutho siyabonga nokuthi nisihole nicabele indlela kuze kufike thina siyafisa futhi ukuthi sihambe kahle singayoni mama unkosazana siyabonga kakhulu ngibonile no coordinator wethu umama uMaruping ngambona umama convener umama ulunga icabashe no coordinator ufikile ayaroka mayanga ayaroka oh mama ngizwile kuthiwa nabalaphi bendabuke bakhona abafundisi bakhona imedia yethu siyabonga kakhulu umsebenzi omuhle enithena wenza ukhona mongameli ngizalwa emakhaya mina lapha yakwaSwayimane kaNkomunyu Polish insizwa ziyayigiyeke esibayeni ngifuna ukukhuluma ngale theme yanamhlanje insizwa mayigiya esibayeni ziyaye zisho iziqubule ezahlukene obaba mkhulu bethu kunezaga ababegiya ngazo engicabanga ukuthi kule theme yanamhlanje ngifuna sishintshe kodwa ngifuna siqale sisisho ziyaye zithi mayigiya insizwe emakhaya ngoba abanaki ukuthi into uma beyikhuluma icindezela kangakanani omunye umuntu kwakumnandi before ingaba kabi khona idemocracy bayaye bethi thula mfazi impi yaphise ebusuku ishoni phela ngithi ngiyagiya la thula mfazi impi yakhe isebusuku thula mfazi impi yakhe isebusuku ngifuna sishintsheni ke manje ngoba sesisesikhathini samanje abantu besifazane umongameli usebavulile umlomo idemocracy umzabalazo walwelwa kwachitheka igazi usuzivulile umlomo ngokwethimi yanamhlanje ibithi thina khuluma mfazi sifuna umnotho khuluma mfazi sifuna umnotho khuluma mfazi sifuna umnotho. Yabona ke kusho ukuthi masisuka lana sisonke njengoba silalelile umongameli izinto azishilo sizosondela kakhulu kongqongqoshe bethu kumakhansela wethu komeya bethu la sihlala khona ukuze kwazi ukuthi impilo zabantu zibe ngcono. Mongameli njengoba usukhulumile nathi sithi masiphinde emakhaya sinethemba lokuthi kuningi okuzoshintsha. Kodwa mongameli abafazi makhosikazi neintombi zala KwaZulu Natal ithema zizwe ukuthi uSpeaker we-district uzobonga zase zingiphathisa. Mongameli azabiza amafutha. Amafutha mongameli. Azabiza amafutha mongameli. Cooking oil. Cooking oil mongameli. Cooking oil mongameli. Sesingaze siphelele umendo mongameli abantweni bethu bathi sipheka kabi kanti sizama ukonga amafutha. Sizama ukonga cooking oil. Siyacela mongameli. I-price yempuphu mongameli. Price yempuphu mongameli ne rice from 89 rand up to 150 asakwazi kwenza lutho. Mongameli price ka petrol. Price ka petrol siyacela matamela ake ukhulume kukube kanye ake basizwele abasebenzi abantu. Abasebenzi abantu. Sicela ke usho kube kanye nje abangadlali ngathi ngo petrol. Ugesi mongameli unqamuka kagesi. Ogogo bahlala bodwa emakhaya. Abantwana abekho mongameli. Ugesi uyahamba bayadlwengulwa abantu. Bayabulawa abantu mongameli. Siyacela siyakuthanda siyazi ukuthi sikuthwesa omkhulu umthwalo kodwa isicelo kubantu abasebefisa ukuhamba bangahlala emakhaya ngenxa yokubalekela ubugebengu obukhona endaweni esihlala kuzona. Siyacelela mongameli. Umongameli uthe ngesikhathi kumnyama kuningi izinto ezenzakalayo kodwa mina mongameli bengifisa ukukhulumela nje abantu abasha mongameli kusukela ku 36 years kuya ku 55 years awukagugi awulona ikhehla awumncane futhi sicela ukuthi amathuba emsebenzi ande kulabo bantu ngoba sikakwazi nokuthola impesheni mongameli. Okugcina mongameli abangiphathise bona omama neintombi zaKwaZulu Natal bathe uma i-unemployment rate mongameli iphezulu. Uma i-unemployment abantu behlele emakhaya omama nobhuti nobaba nosisi kusho ukuthi i-rate ye-pregnancy izoba high ngoba ngesikhathi singenzi lutho khona kufanele sithithe ngakho isizungu okusho ukuthi ke ibhedlela zizogcwala konke kuzogcwala ngoba sizobaletha abantwana ama-social grant azohlale khona. Sicela imisebenzi mongameli nihambe kahle mase niye emakhaya niphephe emgaqweni uThixo anisibekele amandla.
Siyabonga kakhulu somlomo mama. Sicabanga ukuthi umengameli uzwile yonke imlayezo omnikeze yona. Umengameli ke unolunye umcimbi ozomthatha uzoshiya. Kodwa kusazoba mnandi kusangenzeka noma yini. Sisazothola ama-artist azoperforma. Dadewethu uThobekile uzongena nje khona manje uyena ozokhipha umengameli. Emveni kadadewethu uThobekile kuzongena uPinky, the first lady, is the woman who is physically challenged. Ngoba asicwasi ngokobuhlanga asicwasi futhi nanoma ngani onalo so ke nama artist ethu azobeveza lokho ngicela ke ukuthi uhambo oluhle mongameli sijabulile ukuba nawe niphephe siyakuthanda kwaZulu Natal you will remain our leader and president Thobekile the platform is yours